Okay, hi Kelly, how are you?
I'm good.
Okay, so have you noticed any changes in your memory? Just say yes or no.
Yes.
How would you rate your memory capacity now in comparison to a year ago or before the injury? Is it probably like 0% or 100% or somewhere in between?
It's probably a little worse than what it was, so I would say somewhere in between.
Okay, so would you say maybe 25%, 50%, or 75%?
I'll say 50.
Okay. If you studied 20 objects for half a minute, how many do you think that you'd be able to remember?
15.
How many do you think that you would have recalled before your injury?
Probably all of them.
How frequently do you forget things that happened the day before? Almost all the time, almost never, or somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between.
Would you say about 25%, 50%, or 75%?
50.
How frequently do you forget important details? Almost all the time, almost never, or somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between.
Okay. Would you say 75% of the time, 50% of the time, or 25% of the time?
Probably 75% of the time.
How frequently do you forget things that people have told you? Almost all the time, almost never, or somewhere in between?
In between.
So would you say 75% of the time, 50% of the time, or 25% of the time?
50.
How frequently do you forget things that have happened a few minutes ago? Almost all the time, almost never, or somewhere in between?
In between.
75% of the time, 50% of the time, or 25% of the time?
I'll say 50.
Would you remember facts about this form from a week ago, or from a week from now? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to show you some pictures of objects. You will have 90 seconds to study them. Afterwards, I will ask you to tell me what you can remember. Let me know if you are not sure what the name of an object is. Ready? Go ahead and study that, and I'll give you 90 seconds. 90 seconds later. Okay, Kelly, can you please tell me what you remembered from the picture?
Sure. A spoon, a waitress, piece of cake, a knife, I think some sugar.
How difficult was this task for you? Easy, somewhat difficult, or very difficult?
It was kind of difficult, yeah.
How do you feel your memory was on this task as compared to how you have done before your injury? Was there no change, or a big change, or somewhere in between?
I feel like a really big change, actually, yeah.
Approximately how much did you remember? Would you say more than 75%, less than 25%, or somewhere in between?
Maybe somewhere in between.
Would you say about 75%, about 50%, or about 25%?
I probably not remembered like 50% of those items, I think.
Estimate the number of objects that you remembered.
I think I remembered like 10.
How many objects were there altogether, do you know?
No, I don't know. Yeah.
When you were studying this information, what did you do to help you remember? Anything?
No, I just looked at them.
How were you able to recall these items?
They just popped into my head.
Did you think of a place or scene to help you remember?
No.
Alright, so 15 minutes later, a little while ago, I showed you some pictures of things. Can you tell me everything that you remember?
Let me see. I think I said cake. I don't know. A spoon. That's it. I can't think of anything.
How difficult was this for you?
I guess it was pretty difficult.
How do you feel your memory was on this task as compared to how you would have done before your injury?
Terrible.
Would you say that there is no change or a big change or somewhere in between?
Big change.
Approximately how much do you think you remembered? Would you say more than 75% of the time, less than 25% of the time, or somewhere in between?
Maybe somewhere in between.
Would you say about 75% of the time, about 50% of the time, or about 25% of the time then?
I'll say 50.
Estimate the number of objects that you remembered.
3.
How many objects were there altogether when I originally showed you?
10.
When you were studying this information, would you do to help you remember?
I just tried, I don't know, nothing.
How were you able to recall these items the second time?
They just popped into my memory.
Good.